Hello out there, YouTube. How's it going? So there's been a few interesting developments in the steering wheel world. Seems to be the time of year for it, and this time we're focusing on what's going on in the sort of PlayStation compatible wheel space. I know it seems like sort of dunking on Thrustmaster is becoming a bit of a recurring theme, and that's not really what I aim to do. Quite a big fan of Thrustmaster, but just watching how they've responded to the CSL DD being a thing has been interesting to be on the sidelines for. So, starting off, if we go back to June 23rd, when they broke ground on the or broke cover on the Thrustmaster TGT2 being there. You know, they'd hinted at many stuff not long after the CSL DD had been announced, and speculation had run rampant. And when they finally announced it, turns out it's just the refresher, the TGT series, which always had been a bit of a niche product, quite highly priced. You know, in direct competition with the CSL Elite Plus, the Club Sport, the TSPC was never really a what you would consider to be a competitive product, but it was, the top of the PlayStation compatible range of Thrustmaster product, and there's some under the bonnet improvements to the TGT2, which probably will make it an interesting belt-driven wheel. But the problem is, it's now a belt-driven wheel that's priced to compete with a direct drive wheel, namely the CSL DD. So that was the sort of the headline that, not only was the CSL DD a thing, but Thrustmaster's response was sadly lacking. And if you, this was the first post where they officially unveiled the TGT2, and the tone of the responses on social media are pretty similar. It's all just people ragging on ragging on what this is and what it should be, and pointing out that, really DD is the way to go. So things have sort of developed from there, and sort of landing almost simultaneously has been two announcements. So first of all, Fanatec and GT have announced a partnership. And so on 13th of July, Fanatec, a leading brand in sim racing hardware, announced a new partnership with Gran Turismo, which would see the two entities work together to develop new racing peripherals which use advanced force feedback technology. The Fanatec had been hinting that something was in the works for PlayStation and to sort of watch this space. That was kind of the one gap in the market as well. As exciting as the CSL DD has been, it's been very much a PC and Xbox focused sort of lineup. Now, Fanatec always has had a DD product available for PlayStation, the Podium F1. And so that's PlayStation compatible. It was available for PS4 and still available for PS5. And the big issue with the DD one is it's a premium price product, well outside the sort of price range that most people are going to be looking at for their sim racing hardware. And you couple that with the already fairly high prices for Fanatec wheels. It meant that, Thrustmaster occupied obviously Logitech's right at the entry line. Thrustmaster's your enthusiast pricing, and then the Podium DD one was the hardcore sort of pricing. But with this partnership being announced, it really has thrown into question Thrustmaster's positioning within the market. So Thrustmaster have announced that, or responded, and the response is kind of, it's not particularly awe-inspiring. They start off by trying to sort of reiterate what they've already done. So they're saying, we've been working with Polyphony and the Gran Turismo franchise since 2010. It was unexpected to be the only one to do so for such a long period. We learned a lot about the competition and the racing community, which allowed us to better understand the needs and desires of the racing community for developing our future products. We're grateful for such an opportunity. We're still under the official GT license and have just launched our TGT2, available now in stores. We are currently the only ones to be on the market delivering wheels officially licensed by PS5 and GT, and we expect to be the only ones this year. So they're already sort of resting on the fact that they're the ones in the market with the TGT2, and sort of already reiterating what we know already, that if you're a PlayStation owner, you don't have a lot of choice. Now, they're reiterating that they've got the T300 RS GT Edition and 3 versions of the TGT2, and that they're the official hardware sponsor for Gran Turismo competition. So all that stuff's kind of like going, it's sort of like, well, we're already here, so what are you going to do? Which just really seems quite tone deaf. It's when what people wanted to see from Fanatec, from Thrustmaster, was a bit more of a passionate response than just, well, we're already here, so suck it. And yeah, it's come off as a very strange announcement. And so they finish up by finally hinting at the elephant in the room. They say, as one of the market leaders for more than 25 years, naturally we're always working on the different technological options in this field. Later this year, we will reveal new products which will cover the different desires of the different sim racing communities. Stay tuned. Thrustmaster has never taken a step back in any field when it is relevant to our passionate communities. So again, it's a hint that, and they're trying to sort of say, oh, well, people who want DD are just that's one segment of the market, and they're kind of trying to downplay the messaging that's come from Fanatec that DD is the new standard, by kind of saying, well, this is an option for certain people. And it's a weird tone to take. There's no other way to put it. I mean, at least finally they're acknowledging that they need to step up, that they have lost a step in the market. But kind of treating it like it's a flavor choice is a bit strange. And it sort of gives the feeling that they're not really going to try to compete that hard with CSL DD. They're sort of trying to temper expectations. And so, I think if you're a PlayStation or Gran Turismo enthusiast, it really is kind of saying 2021 is not going to be your year. If you're desperate, rush out and buy the TGT2. Otherwise, you're just going to have to suck it until the end of the year. Where this gets interesting is this has leaked onto GT Planet. So images have sort of been popping up on social media. It's not really clear where this has come from, but it looks like a real. It looks fairly real. So we can see it's PlayStation brand packaging, and the product's called the GT DD Pro. And we can see the Fanatec logo there. We can clearly see a wheelbase that looks almost exactly the same as the CSL DD. And what's really interesting is the way the wheel is designed. This clearly must be a bit of input from Polyphony, because you can notice that it has that same sort of spoke setup. Where are we? So it's got that spoke set up down the bottom. So that's clearly a motif that Polyphony really like. It's got the 4 encoders and the shoulder buttons here, and that sort of design is replicated. So there's your shoulder buttons, 4 rotary encoders, and that silver trim with the spokes there. In terms of wheel material, It's hard to see what the actual wheel is made from. I don't think that looks like Alcantara. It looks just more like hard plastic, if anything. You've also got that blue center line up the top there, which is similar to that. And I mean, to the TGT's credit, I mean, whilst it does look a little cheap and tacky, like this middle bit, the button box is not fantastic. And the encoders being these big plasticky dials, it looks hideous, if we're honest. At least the trim is leather, so the bits you're actually touching aren't too bad. Here, this it just looks like hard plastic. So whether it's a sort of automotive plastic or something like that, I don't know. I suppose one cool little thing could be that may well be an OLED. I don't think this is an OLED. Not one that big on a consumer grade wheel, like on a low end consumer wheel. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's interesting. This has sort of been popping up and disappearing on social media. And there hasn't been any kind of official response. Like, I don't know. But this may well be the Sony product that's in the pipeline. And once again, the bad news is for PlayStation owners who are looking at the CSL DD with envy that they have to sit back and wait and see. Keep your money in your pocket would be the main lesson out of that. So yeah, watch this space. Things are looking interesting in the wheel market still. There's no sort of timelines on any of this, but competition's always good. It's good to have choice. It's good to have competition. And for people who are still neck deep in Gran Turismo, it's going to be an exciting 6 to 12 months over the next year. But the bad news is, if you're trying to commit funds, if you're trying to make a decision there, there's no good advice other than wait and see, really. So, yeah, thank you for watching if you've got this far. Hopefully the sound quality has been a step up. I'm a big boy YouTuber now. I've got a Yeti. And there's some exciting things in the pipeline too, so watch this space. All right, thank you for watching.